Surprises in the Royal Rumble are often what makes the match so much fun. Not knowing who's coming out after the clock counts down to 0 and seeing a genuine shock always brings a pop in the crowd. But who exactly could be coming out when we just don't expect them to be there this year? Here at Aussie Cousins Wrestling, we're exploring the potential surprise entrance of the 2025 Men and Women's Royal Rumble matches. And it would be a pleasant surprise to us if you would hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. First off, let's start with someone who would technically be a surprise, but I think we all expect it to happen. Jordynne Grace had a great run in the Rumble last year and has ended up her contract with TNA earlier this month, so when those sirens blare, you can expect a big reaction from the crowd. And speaking of TNA champions, Joe Hendry is another that would get a massive reaction from the crowd when they say his name and he appears. What a great way to show this new partnership between TNA and WWE by having the current TNA champion in the match. While we're there, why not throw in the TNA Knockouts champion Masha Slamovich? Last year, the former Knockouts champion Naomi, or Trinity in TNA, entered the Rumble to be followed soon after by the wrestler who beat her, Jordynne Grace. So let's parallel that with Jordynne Grace entering the Rumble, followed soon after by the wrestler who beat her for the Knockouts Championship, Masha Slamovich. And then we have one more contracted TNA wrestler. Could Jeff Hardy make a comeback to the WWE with this partnership in full effect? Obviously the partnership is specifically with NXT, but the Royal Rumble is a perfect location for someone like Jeff Hardy to come back in. Someone who isn't signed with TNA but recently had a TNA Championship match, Matt Cardona has been rumoured for the last couple of years of making a Royal Rumble comeback. With his wife Chelsea Green being a real highlight of SmackDown, can he finally go back to the WWE to join her? Okay, let's move away from TNA and head on down to NXT. Roxanne Perez is another that I think most people are expecting to make the jump to the main roster. And what better way than to give her a really strong showing in the Rumble? She's done it before, surely she will do it again. How about a current champion? Obafemi is someone who would be incredible in a Royal Rumble, clearing house and announcing himself to the world with a quick-fire handful of eliminations. Julia is another name that should be floated about as a potential NXT call-up in 2025, and as the NXT Women's Champion, why not put her in the Rumble and give her a first outing on the main roster in this way? Trick Williams is a crowd favourite down in NXT and looks set to be on the main roster at some point soon. Could you imagine a scene where Carmelo Hayes thinks he's the king of the Rumble, only to hear the crowd singing "Whoop that trick" for the next entrant? Lash Legend seems destined for great things in the company, with her meteoric rise in the second half of 2024 being a major highlight. There aren't too many women who look like they could out-muscle Bianca Belair, so I'd expect to see her coming out from the back during the match. Ethan Page is a man who has been touted as moving up to the main roster, with it specifically being stated by The Rock recently. The 18-year veteran could be given the biggest stage of his career to show his unique abilities and become an entrant on Saturday. In 2023, Zoe Stark and Indy Hartwell were given some time in the Rumble, Zoe a lot more than Indy, before being drafted to the main roster. How about some wrestlers in similar positions like Kalani Jordan, who could fly around the place in the 30-woman spectacular? Or let's go with someone who could produce a hell of a spot, like a double soul snatcher in the corner, Sol Ruka. We don't expect too many men from NXT to be in the Rumble, with those positions being stacked already with main roster superstars, so let's just throw one more woman in there. Stephanie Vaquer is surely a main roster star in 2025, so let's put her in the Rumble and set the world alight. If you're liking this Aussie charm and your WWE content, please make sure you hit that like button, it helps us out so much. And I want to know in the comments below who your favourite surprise entrant of all time in a Royal Rumble was. Now let's check out some returning superstars who could very well be making a comeback to the ring this weekend. Charlotte Flair has already been confirmed, and we imagine Becky Lynch will already be there given she has re-signed with the company this year. All of these next picks are predicated on whether these wrestlers are actually fit enough to make it back. And first up we have Asuka. She is my youngest daughter's favourite and the winner of the very first Women's Rumble. The crowd will give her plenty of support hearing her music drop. If he is fit after his foot injury late last year, AJ Styles deserves a spot on this list, back where it all began for him in the Royal Rumble, when the camera inexplicably zoomed in on Roman Reigns as AJ was making his debut in the WWE. Jade Cargill is another relatively obvious one, as she took time off to heal some injuries as well as pursue some outside projects from the WWE. Expect this to occur with Bianca and Naomi teaming up in the ring. Could Big E ever make a return to the ring? If he is fit and ready to wrestle after the doctors give him the all clear, then the indie crowd would absolutely be ready to go big if he's able to join the multi-man chaos. Carmella has been away for a long time after the birth of her child. Unfortunately, she did suffer some medical issues after the birth, which may prevent her return, but she is definitely someone we would love to see back in the WWE. Speaking of little Dimitri being born, how about Corey Graves? Accounts have suggested he has been cleared to wrestle again after his injury-plagued career, and with Pat McAfee's awful appearance last year, why don't we put a commentator in who can make a much better Royal Rumble surprise? Another female wrestler returning from the birth of their child could and should be Alexa Bliss. The goddess has regularly stated she is fit and ready to go, and after Raw plans were initially scrapped, expect to see her turning out in the Royal Rumble. In what could be the most incredible comeback of the year, it appears Ilya Dragunov is in full training just 4 months after tearing his ACL. While it seems highly unlikely that he would be cleared for the Rumble, you just can't rule out the Tsar with his passion and intensity being ready so early. Let's move on to some legends of the business and whether they'll be getting the countdown pop on Saturday. There has been plenty of talk lately that Nikki Bella has been in discussions to make a part-time return to the ring lately, and she could well be someone making an entrance. A commentator with a higher chance of getting a nod for the Royal Rumble would surely be Wade Barrett. He is in wonderful shape and has often been rumoured about having some return matches. If he ever does make it back in the ring, expect Drew McIntyre being there to deliver some bad news to the man from Preston, England, as he dumps him over the top rope. AJ Lee is also often rumoured about making a comeback to the WWE. It would only be fitting that one of the real pioneers of women's wrestling in the early 2010s gets her chance in a match type that she could have only dreamed of during her career. Oh, and her husband is doing some pretty big things too. Booker T recently had a match in his own promotion, Reality of Wrestling, and it has only been 2 years since his last Rumble appearance. But at 59 years old, maybe we won't dig it, sucker, again. Trish Stratus is another legend of the business who has been in and around the WWE for the last couple of years, and there is plenty of history with women in the Royal Rumble that she could bring back up, most notably her feud with a returning Becky Lynch. Another massive name that has popped up a couple of times recently is Goldberg. He has been angling for a retirement match to occur at some point this year, so could this be where that match is set up with whoever eliminates him? One last big pop for the man would be very nostalgic indeed. Someone who was featured on NXT recently is Victoria. With the growing connections between WWE and TNA, Victoria is well placed to perform a Legends run in the Royal Rumble should she be given the opportunity. And finally, The Rock. This one appears to have gone cold lately, especially after the very bizarre appearances at Raw's Netflix debut and NXT's New Year's Evil. But could you imagine if The Rock's music hits at number 30, or even better for his final boss character, that after 30 men have entered, the countdown starts again and The Rock throws his corporate muscle around by coming in at number 31? We all remember the item he gave Cody on the Raw after WrestleMania that has never been mentioned again. Who do you think could be a surprise entrant to the 2025 Royal Rumble matches? Are they on this list or someone completely different? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're there, hit the subscribe button to continue supporting the Aussie Cousins Wrestling show on our fledgling journey. There's also a button with a thumb pointing upwards that would be very handy for you to click, and the most important thing of all, we here hope that everyone watching has a wonderful day.